Hey everyone, we're back with another week of Find Your Film. This is something that I'm actually going to mention for the first time in our close to 1 year of existence. This is for the week ending July 30th, 2021. So for listeners, if you're listening to us on audio or video, you can actually tag back to the actual week we're covering because every week it seems like we're doing 7 or 8 movies, but there might be no rhyme or reason. The rhyme or reason is every single week we cover the new films that are coming out. This is for the week of July 30th. Another change in this show of Find Your Film is me and Eric Holmes. Hello, Eric Holmes. How are you doing, buddy?
Not bad.
Not bad at all. We fired Bruce Perky. Bruce Perky is no longer part of the Find Your Film podcast. He's stuck somewhere in Americana, in the heartland of Americana. His car has broken down, or so he says. He's somewhere probably out partying, and maybe he's off to seeing
It's a 1 year anniversary. You gotta cut loose for a bit.
Cut loose, yeah, that's good. Actually, even though Bruce's car is broken down, he himself is not broken down. He's actually on the side of the road, probably in the scorching heat, writing mini reviews of the movies we're covering for this episode. Eric, is that a lot of dedication? What do you think, buddy?
Yeah, Bruce is the best of us.
Bruce is the best of us. I'm
we have to enjoy him while he's here.
Oh, right. No. Eric is sounding like Bruce is terminal. With the amount of cheeseburgers I'm eating lately, I think I'm going to be the one who's actually under the ground sooner than later. We have a lot of movies to get to this week, Eric Holmes. We have 9 Days, a movie called 9 Days, a movie called Lorelei. Lorelei is a movie starring Pablo Schreiber, I believe. Pablo Schneider.
That was a movie that I was so glad when they actually said the name of the movie out loud in the movie. I'm like, oh, that's how you say it.
Oh, okay.
Actually, we got a couple of those today.
Yeah, we have Twist, a movie that I wish Bruce was here to actually talk to you about, Eric, because I actually did see the movie, but you and Bruce have a definite tie to Twist because you guys interviewed the actress / writer Sally Collette. So we're going to be covering that. And she's actually in Twist for a little bit. And finally, we're going to be also covering the documentary Sabaya. Eric Holmes, after watching Sabaya, were you triggered? We're going to get to that in a second. Were you emotionally fraught with? What headspace were you in?
Very angry, but also kind of oddly enough hopeful. And then it's sometimes, oh, should we just start with that?
No, you know what we're going to start with first? We're going to start with a movie that's coming out July 30th, and that is The Green Knight. Okay, you've been clamoring for The Green Knight. Okay, here's the thing, Eric. Did you know that I was actually the publicist who was working on Green Knight? He's I'm not going to mention the publicist's name, very nice person. He actually offered me a screening for Tuesday for The Green Knight over here in downtown Los Angeles. I definitely did not respond because, as you know, Eric, I'm a hermit. I did not want to go out and watch The Green Knight. If you were offered such an opportunity, would you have actually after work gone to your local theater and see The Green Knight before Friday's release?
Oh yeah. In fact, because we get a lot of screeners that we gotta watch at home, which is great, and that's awesome. But there's certain movies like Green Knight's one of them. When Dune comes out, that'll be another one that I'm like, if we get a screener, that's great, but it's gonna be very hard to not watch the screener because sometimes you just want to see the first time on the big screen.
We're not going to get a screener. We're just going to get a big envelope of sand and a VHS.
I'm cool with that. I'm cool with that. But I mean the whole point is that the screeners are cool, but with certain movies, especially something like The Green Knight or Dune, is something that's if you give me the screener, I'll watch it, but I'd much rather watch it in the IMAX or watch it in the movie theaters for the first time.
So, speaking of The Green Knight, so basically next week listeners can count on you to traverse to go to your local theater to watch The Green Knight. This is something you're going to be doing this weekend.
Yeah, I kind of have to. So, given the project that I've been working on, it would be silly if I did not do that.
Okay, and tell our listeners, I think you've mentioned it the last couple of episodes, you're collaborating on this Green Knight RPG game with a bunch of your friends. There's going to be a whole. Let's see. And what can we?
We got the Green Knight fantasy art role playing game. And this is you can get that on the A24 website. And I got it, and I knew that William Lindis likes to play D&D, And we hooked up, got him, and then got Peter Beta from Middle Class Film Class, and Jessica Lowe from Strange Fate Crafts, who's going to be help me doing my game, the box stuff for my game. And so she's in it. And then two of Will's friends, we got Fernando and John. And I know them mostly by their characters' names, so I want to call John Cromlin, but I think his name's John. But anyway, we played through the RPG game. William Lindis DM'd it, and then we put it together in 4 different parts and added, a little bit of music, a little bit of music, and then some video. And what would you call it? Like a picture kind of
a video, music, picture.
Yeah, like a picture stuff. Like someone's like, oh, and then the fox comes by, and then we got a picture of a fox or a video of a fox. Some visual representations or visual aids throughout.
Visual aids, visual references.
So it's basically just a playthrough that you'd find on YouTube, but we kind of added a little extra stank to it to make it more fun to watch as opposed to just listening to it. But if you want to just listen to it, you can do that as well.
Speaking of stank, I just received all of the mini movie reviews from Bruce Perky that he has supplied for us for this little mini pod. So even though Bruce will not just be with us in spirit, he will be with us via prose, Eric Holmes. So as Eric Holmes actually looking at some of the comments of what let's see, I think he gave us a couple of reviews. Did he miss a couple of reviews? Let's see.
Says it sucks. Not for me, and fuck this movie. No.
Yeah, exactly. Wait. One more thing, and then I want him to actually tell us something about that movie Twist. First off, let's start with Twist. Why don't we just start off with Twist? Because this is a movie that you and Bruce have been looking forward to because it's directed by Martin, I believe Owen. He is the director behind Max Cloud, and Owen has a whole bunch of people who are part of his universe. One of them is Sally Collette. She was the co-writer of Max Cloud, and she's also a co-writer in Twist. So she's back here, and she has a very small role. And Elliot, I believe, Langridge, who is also in Max Cloud, has a small part here as well in Twist.
Yeah, very, very brief part, but it was a glorious bit of briefness.
It's one of these things. If you are in that Martin Owen world and you know his films, you'll know Sally Collette and Elliot Langridge, and both of them are here as sort of obviously Collette did the co-writing, but both Langridge and Collette as actors, they're here as sort of a nod for people who are really into this universe. First off, Twist is a modern day retelling of the Charles Dickens classic Oliver Twist, and it stars the main character is Twist, Oliver. He's an orphan. He is living in, I believe, in London, and he's a loner until he, of course, the whole Oliver Twist story. He gets taken in by a requisite family of thieves, and he joins the family. Unfortunately, finding that unconditional love from his extended family is very tough when all they want to do is rob. They want to rob from people. They want to they're actually robbing from the rich. Actually, this movie takes place within the art world in London as well. So that's it's not a musical. It's not a big, heavy drama. It's a light, frothy comedy adventure set in the art world. So what did you think of this, Eric, overall Twist?
Yeah, this was a really fun heist movie. Has a lot of the parkour in it. So because Oliver Twist in this one, he's a tagger, graffiti artist. And I wish Bruce was here because my brain fails me so many times and he would know that. But there was a movie that
I'm here. I'm going to help you. Go ahead.
Well, there was a movie Bruce watched and then I watched as well. I think it was for one of his In the Box movies, maybe. Mm-hmm. But it was about a street tagger, and it was really similar to Twist as far as the guy doing the graffiti art and then just wanting to make his own art and make his own statement. That's kind of where Twist was. But then he hooks up with Michael Caine and his band of merry thieves, and it becomes like a heist movie, kind of like an Ocean's 11 sort of thing.
Of course, and Michael Caine is Fagin, the popular Dickens character, Fagin, the leader of the group.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I'm not that well versed in Oliver Twist. I saw the movie when I was a kid and barely remember. The only thing I was, please, may I have some more? More?
And of course, rounding out the cast is Skiles. She plays Sykes. Sykes, played by the Game of Thrones actress Lena Headey. Sykes is the bad apple of the bunch. Okay. There's also Rita Ora, the pop artist Rita Ora. She plays Dodge. And also there is Sophie Simnet. She's Red. Red plays the woman who is a fellow criminal crook and part of the family of Twist new family, and Twist, played by Ray Flaw, starts falling head over heels the minute he lays eyes on Red. Sorry, Eric. That's So it was fun. It was a fun movie for you.
Yeah, overall. It was a little more serious than Max Cloud, but what was the oh geez, I cannot remember anything today. The assassination one with Chibs from Sons of Anarchy, the other Martin Owen movie, Assassins Anonymous.
No. Killers Anonymous.
Anonymous. Oh geez, my brain sucks so bad.
All right.
But it had the same kind of flavor to that. So like if you're into those type of movies, this is kind of in that same wheelhouse. And I'd really like to have Sally Collett on again and Elliot Langridge. Because I saw that there was like on the movie there's like her and another co-writer, I think, but if you look up IMDb there's like 10 co-writers, and that was kind of odd to me because it definitely feels like the Killers Anonymous kind of flavor.
So that is Twist, and
Twist is quite fun.
This is okay. Twist for me is quite fun. This is what Bruce says. Twist, likable fluff, probably more suited for the Disney crowd. The heavy amount of parkour is a bit puzzling. Mild recommend as family fare. I'm going to disagree with Bruce on that. I love the parkour in this movie. I thought the parkour was the best stuff in this movie. It was a lot of really cool action scenes. It was different. Yeah, maybe it might have been a little bit puzzling, but it kind of worked. I like that. I like that twist, the narrative. Yeah. So did you, Eric? You liked that part of it?
Well, I mean, he's a graffiti artist, so it makes sense that at least know his way around the city like he does, and then maybe he does a couple flips and parkours his way throughout the buildings.
The weird thing is, as I'm watching Twist throughout the entire movie, I'm thinking, man, this lead actor, I didn't know who he was, but I was thinking, man, he reminds me of Jude Law from The Talented Mr. Ripley, like early Jude Law. This guy, the guy who played Twist, and I was thinking to myself, yeah, if anything, this movie, even if it's light, fun, entertainment fare, it's going to serve as a very good vehicle as a lead actor. He reminded me of a young Jude Law, and I was thinking maybe that's an unfair comparison.
You know what this movie reminds me of? Baby Driver. It's got that same kind of, similar kind of energy and kind of
the music, the quick cutting,
kind of story.
All that stuff.
I wonder if Baby Driver is based on Oliver Twist.
or it has maybe a light Guy Ritchie touch to it. Also, anyways, the lead actor who I was thinking reminded me of Jude Law. I went to IMDb to check. His name is Ray Flaw. He is the son of Jude Law. So the son of Jude Law
there you go.
Is the lead of Twist. Again, star-studded movie. I was thinking my only complaint, I wish there was a little bit more for Michael Caine to do, but honestly, Michael Caine is a added bonus in whatever movie he's in. Do you wish they had more of Michael Caine, or like what? That's not.
I wish they had more Elliot Langridge and Sally Collett, but I'll take whatever I can get. Whatever they give me, I'll take.
So Twist, it's in theaters, on digital, and on demand, July 30th, 2021. July 30th, this Friday. I remember watching Rachel Weisz on, I think it was Jimmy Fallon, and she was saying how to actually have the Michael Caine accent. Do you know how to actually have the Michael Caine accent, Eric?
My cocaine.
Yeah, Michael Caine. So that was very cool. Anyways, so I mean, solid recommend for me as family fare.
So, I can't
go ahead.
Michael Caine.
Yeah,
it's a wonderful movie. You should check it out a bit. That's about the best I can do for right now.
Eric Thespian Holmes laying down the truth on Twist, again in theaters, on digital.
Gregory, if you want me in Twist too, just ask me and I'll.
No, please. Yeah, very good. You have a better British accent than me. Too bad we couldn't get Bruce in here to give us his. Maybe next week we'll have him do some more, please, or maybe Bruce Perky next week will come in and call us governor or governor the whole episode on digital and demand, July 30th. That is Twist. Eric, did you see all of these movies as well? I mean, did you get through 9 days? Did you actually get through 9 days?
I did.
Okay, now look, here's a premise.
Felt like 12.
It felt like 9. Okay, that's our review. We're on to our next movie. 9 days felt like 12. And they're never going to send us a link anymore. Thanks to Eric Holmes. Oh, what are you doing, Eric? No, but this is a weird premise, okay? Because it centers on, I mean, how do we start with this movie? It's such an interesting film, and I think do you agree? First of all, do you think 9 Days, it's getting some really good reviews, but do you think ultimately, before we get into the plot summary, that it is a total acquired taste, this movie?
I think so. And quite honestly, like, this is a really cool idea. And I think my misgivings about this movie are my fault and not the movie's fault, because I tried watching
That's
it.
too generous, aren't you? Aren't you being too generous? Like, maybe it's
No, no. Because it was one of those. It was one of those things where when I put it on, it wasn't grabbing me. And then I was like, oh, yeah, I just turned it off. And then I hit you guys up. I was like, does this get better? And you guys are like, oh yeah, check it out. And, sorry you didn't like it. And I was like, well, I'll try watching it again. And then I get to kind of get into its groove a little bit. So I like the second time through, it kind of, got into it. I don't know, just something. I saw Master and Commander a long time ago. And the first time I watched that movie, I couldn't fucking stand it. I was like, this movie sucks. Yeah. I hate this movie. I hate everything about this movie. And then, like, literally everyone I talked to just tells me about how great Master and Commander is. I'm like, that movie sucks. What? But then at some point, I'm like, maybe I'm wrong. And so I'd already seen Master and Commander, and I already know what to expect from it. Now I can kind of get my brain in Master and Commander mode. And I put it on, and I'm like, oh yeah, I was fucking wrong. I was way off. This movie's pretty fucking sweet. And so I think that might be the case with 9 Days, where I'm just not.
Or maybe
I don't think I was
pacing. Maybe it's not your tone or pace. Maybe the pacing wasn't your. You know what I'm saying? It might be not your thing.
No,
might not be a lot of people's things.
I think it was a wrong movie at the wrong time.
Fair.
So sometimes you'll watch a movie that normally you wouldn't like, but you're just in that right headspace. So you're like, oh, that movie was awesome. But if you watch that movie a day before, a day after, you'd be like, this movie sucks. I think I just watched this movie at the wrong time. It just didn't hit me the way that it should, because it's a really cool premise, and there's a lot of cool. Should we say what the premise is?
Yeah, well, the premise is, okay, it stars Winston Duke. Okay, you guys might know Winston Duke from, I believe, Us and Black Panther. Excellent actor. He plays Will. He's a very closed off human being. And he lives in this remote desert outpost where it's just, there's a slew of televisions. And we're not talking about 4K high def definitions. We're talking.
We're like talking about like Shredder's Wall televisions. I'll get those turtles. And there's like hundreds of 80s style TVs stacked on top of each other.
Yes, a lot of old school televisions. There's VHS tapes around, and the grain of the video or the picture quality in the television looks very, like you said, from the 80s, or maybe even at the earliest, maybe even early 90s at the latest. Okay. Yeah. So what happens is each of these screens has different people's lives. It's kind of like the Truman Show. A lot of different people's lives are being followed by Will, again, played by Winston Duke. And from all of these TV screens, he can see their lives unfold chronologically. So that's an interesting premise. Will's job is to actually, when one of the television's TV sets goes off, that means someone dies. So as soon as someone dies, it's Will's job to find a person to actually replace the TV set, meaning he needs to find a human being to follow. And the only way he can do this is there's basically about, I'd say maybe 4 or 5 people who come to Will to see if they get the privilege to become human beings. So even though we see them from Will's vantage point as human beings, they're not really human beings yet. They look like adults, but they are fighting for the chance to become human beings. Only one of them will make it. So it's a big contest. Only one of these
5 enter, 1 shall leave.
It sounds like some kind of Octagon or Chuck Norris film or Jennifer.
It's almost kind of like a live action version of Soul. The Disney Soul. Yeah. It's really similar premise. And it's also got a little bit of Seventh Seal in there too.
Very cool. Seventh Seal from Ingmar Bergman.
Yeah. Yes. And which also is another movie that like didn't grab me, but grabbed me later, Yeah, it's got the Seventh Seal because a lot of this is about talking ideas and what it means to be human, what you would do in certain situations and whatnot. And I mean, it's definitely insightful.
Did you actually get to see the connection with Zazie Beetz? Zazie Beetz plays one of the individuals who wants to become a human being. So Zazie Beetz has a very big role in this. Did you see a link among Zazie Beetz, Benedict Wong, he also stars in the movie as sort of pretty much the best de facto close friend of Will's.
Yeah.
And he has a little bit of surprise about his character that I'm not going to mention, even though I'm sure he's mentioned in the movie descriptions. I mean, there's a surprise about him that comes at the beginning of the movie that I don't want to spoil, but he plays a friend of Will's. But what do Benedict Wong, Zazie Beetz, and Winston Duke have in common?
This is clearly a backdoor Doctor Strange movie with Domino and whoever he played in Black Panther.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So they're all MCU characters, and Benedict Wong, I believe, was in Doctor Strange. So all of these are MCU actors. Okay. But this is not an MCU movie, even though it has a premise of a supernatural kind of thing.
It kind of could be, though. I mean,
like
with I haven't watched the Loki, but like from what I've seen on that, and then the
surreal
WandaVision, like this could very easily be like a backdoor Doctor Strange movie,
right?
And we had no idea.
Now, in fairness, listeners to Eric's, has no. I mean, you don't even know if you're going to recommend this or not. You're sort of on the fence. It wasn't.
I would recommend it. The only reason I started off with it the way I did was to let people know that, like, I didn't like watching it this time, but I think that has more to do with where my brain was at the time of watching it, as opposed to it being the movie itself.
That's great. Okay, that's a great thing, because when I started watching the screener, I actually saw this on my iPad, listeners. So I was in a very reflective, somber mood, thinking about grief and life. And if you're in that introspective mode, 9 Days is perfect for you. It opens in LA, New York, July 30th. It's a perfect movie if you can let go of some of the film's artifice. You can actually, if you're in a very bad mood, you can look at this movie as very pretentious and slow paced, and it overthinks itself. But if you get swept away in the actual fabric of 9 Days, I think you can ultimately be touched, and I can actually have a resonant. You can get a lot from this. I personally got a lot from this movie. The ending of the film, where we see, because Will, and another thing, Eric, to your point, what's frustrating about this movie is Will's character. He's so closed off from life that there's really not much to go with his character. He's just, you get frustrated with him. It's easy to get, right?
I wanted to choke him the entire movie.
Of course.
And then, because the people are like, "What do you want?" He's like, "There is no wrong answer." It's like, go fuck yourself. There's 5 souls here, and only one of them go. The other 4 go who knows where. And you're going to be as flippant as, "There are no wrong answers." Bullshit. My soul's on the line. Fuck you. Tell me what I need to do.
He was being being pretty, let's face it, he was being pretty much of a dick throughout a lot of the movie. We're not going to mention what happens in the third act, but in my opinion, it was amazing. It was very emotionally resonant for me, and it's probably the final act. It will be, by the end of this year, it'll actually be one of my favorite moments in cinema this year. As a whole, I really enjoyed 9 Days. I give it a strong recommendation. Eric, even though you were not in the right frame of mind for this movie, I'm glad you actually at least gave it a recommendation.
I think the premise is solid, and I think a lot of people get a lot out of it. And if you're like me and you're just not in the mood to watch it, then you're gonna watch it, go fuck this movie. But I think it's a good movie. I just don't think I was in the, like I said, I think my problems with this movie are my fault and not the movie's fault. So I don't want to give it bad marks, just because let's say you just let's say you gotten a bad divorce, and then you got to go watch a movie at the theater because you already got the ticket. It's like, oh fuck, and then you watch the movie and you're like, fuck this movie, fuck. Like the whole time you're thinking about your shitty relationship, and the movie's you can't blame the movie for that. It's just like, I'm just here playing, like I'm,
and you're watching Kramer versus Kramer with that ticket you got.
Yeah.
That'd be really bad. Now, Bruce Perky's review of 9 Days, he says, Winston Duke is amazing and needs to be in everything. At first, I was iffy on this. Why VHS tapes? Why box TVs? Then we meet all the candidates. I was on board. Then the movie happened. A bit too meandering and somber. I loved, quote, the last moments, but overall, a slight recommend. Hipster heaven, artisanal afterlife. My goodness.
I mean,
artisanal.
Fuck, why isn't Bruce here? Bruce needs to be here.
No, but he's, so that artisanal afterlife, at least recommend from Eric. Strong recommend from me, slight recommend from Bruce with a caveat. We have to throw in caveats every week with a caveat that Bruce calls it hipster heaven. Yes, Eric Holmes.
The caveat for that I mentioned might be talking about that next week.
Oh, next week. Oh, okay.
So should have been talking about this the week, but I will not do that to Bruce. I will not talk about that movie without him.
Listeners, I have bad news. Yeah, we won't talk about caveat. Maybe I'll actually see caveat for next week. Also, for next week, we were going to do a Valapalooza thing, but maybe I think we're going to do a Valapalooza segment within next week's episode because Bruce actually recommended for a couple movies. So, but next week, as far as our Find Your Film episode, each of us, we're going to pick one Val Kilmer movie we love, and we'll do a special Valapalooza segment. And we're talking because that's in celebration of the Amazon Prime Video release of the documentary Val.
Do Valapalooza and then Caveatapalooza and then Green Knightapalooza.
Green Knightapalooza.
It's gonna be a Find Your Filmapalooza next week.
You know what? I've got to really actually leave the friggin' house and watch the Green Knight because I'm a huge fan of what is it? I love Excalibur. I love those kind of movies, and I think this movie looks like it's going to be something special. At least I hope so. So now here's the bad news, Eric, and I think we have to announce this to our listeners. The next two movies we're going to cover, they're not fun Valapalooza. They're not fun. No, this is not fun, twisty stuff. These are all pretty much in many ways depressing movies. They do have the light at the end of the tunnel a little bit. Eric, do you think, are we going to be able to get through these next two movies? What do you think?
Yeah, it's going to be tough, but I'll tell you what, I got something super popcorn, super light and fluffy for the end of it. So we won't end on any of these two. We'll end with something nice and fluffy.
Okay, I'm gonna do this justice because with this region I am pretty ignorant, but this is from MTV Documentary Films. It's called Sabaya. It's, quote, a riveting portrait of courage under fire, directed by Hogir Horori. And I apologize to Hogir if I'm mispronouncing the name, but it's called a docu-thriller, and it centers on a group of volunteers, and they work at this place called the Yazidi Home Center. And they risk their lives to save Yazidi women and girls who have been held captive by ISIS, and they're used by ISIS, Islamic State. They are used as sex slaves, hence the movie title, the documentary title, Sabaya. I hope I'm pronouncing that as well correctly, but Sabaya means sex slave. Okay, so you gotta actually comprehend this. These are just normal, everyday human beings. One of them is you get to see really the life of this guy, Mahmoud. He's one of the leaders of the Yazidi Home Center, and he and a couple of other workers there, volunteers, they go into these camps filled with Yazidi women, okay, and they try to rescue them from the clutches of their enemies, okay, the Daesh, Daesh, okay, because the Daesh, they actually hold them and they use them as sabayas. And here's the thing that's tricky. When they go into the camps, some of these women who are, they can't show their face. You can't see them. They actually have to they need infiltrators within the camp, women infiltrators who help these people from the home center find these sabayas, rescue them from the camp. It's a very dangerous operation. If they're caught, they're probably going to be killed. There's going to be retribution. So they're risking their lives to save these women. And sometimes these women, they're not just women. They're also little girls. There are some little girls who they rescue as well. Eric, your thoughts on Sabaya? Very tough movie for me to watch. I'm sure it's tough for you to watch as well.
Yeah, it's not a picnic for sure, but it's I love that it highlights the heroes that are involved in this. I mean, there's you want to talk about superheroes? It's these people going in, the people looking for them, the women that get out of that and then have to go back into it to kind of infiltrate it. This thing is just harrowing.
It almost feels like a suicide mission, what both the infiltrators and the people from the home center are doing.
And the fact that like there's so much gunplay in this, and like everyone's kind of okay, when you hear a car alarm go off,
and
it's like, oh, that again. All right, don't worry, it'll go off. Beep, beep. Okay, cool. It's done. That's kind of how they treat gunfire in this. Like, all right, so we need to do pow, 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 pow. It'll go away. Don't go outside. It's dangerous. But anyway, so all this stuff is happening around them, and they're kind of like so almost bored with it to a degree. Like this is a lot of this is stuff that would just crush someone's soul, but they've been in it so long that this is just what we do. And but at the same time, like the main guy, like his wife's always telling him, dude, take a day off. And he's like, I can't. There's people out there that need me. And so he's never, he's never lost why he's doing it. But at the same time, like all this terrible stuff that's going around with him, like it's almost like he couldn't be. It appears to be that it's just his day to day. It's like clocking in and doing stuff on your computer to him.
Not even we talk. There are computers in this movie, but let's stress the fact that Mahmoud does not have the latest iPhone. He has a flip phone, folks. He has a flip phone, and they are working whatever. And he's probably texting the old school way. It's very harrowing what they're Mahmoud and his colleagues are going through a harrowing experience, and they do not have all the most advanced tech on their side. And when they go into these camps, it's like finding a needle in a haystack. Sometimes their missions will fail. If the missions fail, they might not find one of these women, okay, or kids. And if they don't, what's even worse, they may not find them and they may get killed in the process. Yeah. So
or worse than that, they find them and they're going there and they get found out and they leave. And now they got to go back and start all the way from the beginning. Because like if they catch on to their scent,
yep,
and the people that they're chasing and they're gone, then they're fucked. And all those women that are with them are even buried deeper, and this can be even more difficult to find them. I should also point out, and this is kind of like not really the point of the movie, but it needs to be said. This movie looked gorgeous. This felt like watching Sicario, but if Sicario was a documentary, this kind of felt a lot like that.
Right.
Especially like the scene where they get one of the Sabayas. And they have her in the back of the SUV and they're driving. They're like, there's someone following us.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh God. My heart's beating. Is like, all right, be cool. It'll be, oh no, they're shooting at us. No, don't worry about it.
And you just see two menacing headlights in the distance.
Yeah.
From the
but that's just it. The people in the car are like, that's just what they're used to. Meanwhile, I'm sure you felt the same way. I'm watching it go, oh my God, what's going to happen?
I don't want to give too much away too. There are fires in this movie that will freak you out. And Eric, to your point, a lot of these people, they see tragedy before them. And this is what Bruce said about it. Sabaya, sobering, sometimes tense. It highlights how ordinary and mundane the horrors of ISIS and the abuse of women has become. Everyone involved seems numb, harrowing. I think that's perfect. Like you said, Eric, and what Bruce said, this movie, these citizens, they are so numb to the horrors of war, of whether it's be the Sabayas or the volunteers in the home center. It's shocking and to see what they're going through, but they don't seem like they're panicking, and that makes me panic even more, I guess.
Well, on top of that, like is this person here? Nope, never seen him before. Well, we're gonna check in there anyway. Oh, look, here she is. I've never seen her before. It's like, you motherfucker! Like, are those people working for them, or are they just? I don't get how people can be that evil to each other. It's not a good light to shine on humanity, but it exists, so I guess you kind of have to.
Well, Sabaya, in many ways, is the value-added documentary. All good documentaries are. This is one of these movies that, even though it is, like Bruce and Eric have been saying, it's harrowing, I think it's a solid recommend. I really recommend this documentary. But Eric,
the prisons, were those the Johns or the?
Some of them were the Johns, the Daesh. Some of them remember the Daesh, and
like they have that small one where there was like the room should hold like maybe 60 people, but there's probably about 200, 300, 400 people, and they're all like piled on top of each other, like just
normal, like it's a normal day. Oh my goodness. There are images. I remember even Bruce, when he first saw it, he said, warning, this movie broke me. So it's one of those movies that could break you. That said, Eric, do we have any warnings for people who might want to see Sabaya? Anything?
I mean, if you listen to it up till now, I think you got kind of an idea of what you're walking into. This is the best way I could sum it up is something one of the Sabayas said, rescued the women that got rescued. She was saying to the camera, it's like, you're going to hear about me someday, and you're going to hear that I've killed myself.
Oh, jeez. Yeah.
That's how bleak this movie is.
Yeah.
Even when they save them, that's not the end of the story.
And she says it with no emotion. She says it like she's ordering a bag of potato chips.
Yeah. And it's just like dead serious. Like, no, I'm not, this is not a cry for help. This is what will happen. Like, I'm just counting the days at this point.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, you're right. It would be interesting to see a follow-up to what happened to these women when they returned home to their respective families. Sabaya opens in New York and Los Angeles this Friday, July 30th. A lot of you will probably be seeing this when it comes out via streaming or on demand. Wow. What powerful film. Strong recommend for me. I'm assuming strong recommend for you too, Eric. So solid recommend. Yeah. Okay. You know, I think Bruce just messaged us on he actually quit the show, and I think he just said he's only from now on he's only going to do one-line movie reviews for us during the pod. So it's only going to be me and you from now on, Eric. This is your time to jump ship if you want to, buddy. What do you think?
I should have mentioned with Sabaya, just to go back to 9 days.
Yeah.
Who the hell? Okay, you're the one that gets a human body, and then they become one of the people that kidnaps the woman. And
on 9 days, like who gets? Yeah, okay, all right.
But that's kind of why these two sort of work well together. But as I'm watching Sabaya, because they have a lot of children in there. And I'm looking at them like, oh, cute little children. But as the movie goes on, then they start showing children. I'm like, are they going to grow up to be a good person like the main guy that we're following, or are they going to grow up to be one of the kidnappers? Because you look at kids, you look at potential, you look at their sweetness and innocence and all that. Not all of them are going to turn out so good. Some of them, every piece of shit in Sabaya was once a child, once a sweet, innocent child.
Okay, Eric, I am now more depressed. Thank you. We are now ending this episode of Find Your Film. Bruce Perky, where are you? I thought we would be fine just without you. It would have been hard without that extra voice. But suddenly, Eric, because he mentioned the Seventh Seal, he is now suddenly the Grim Reaper, and he's throwing down death.
All right, Greg, your move. Knight to B1.
Okay, that is a chess reference, which is reference in the Seventh Seal. I'm sure
probably a terrible chess reference, but one nonetheless.
Okay, all right, folks, that is something else. We're gonna go on this misery train, this misery sadness train, and I mean this actually in a good way, hopefully, with Lorelei. This movie, it's written and directed by Sabrina Doyle. It stars Jena Malone and Pablo Schreiber. You might know Pablo Schreiber for his work in Den of Thieves, and Jena Malone, she's been in a whole lot of movies. I know what movie Eric Holmes is going to reference with Jena Malone. He's going to reference Contact. Oh, okay. Okay.
She was the young girl in Contact.
Very good. Okay. I thought you were going to mention the Neon Demon.
That was the other one.
But anyways, both of them are very good actors. Okay. Here's a premise. After 15 years in jail, Wayland, played by Pablo Schreiber, he gets out of jail. He's released, and he goes back to a small town somewhere out there. What would you say, Eric? It's out there in the middle of the mountains. It's a mountain town. It's a really like Oregon type, right? It's like an Oregon type town kind of thing.
If it was in the same area that Death of Dick Long took place in, it wouldn't surprise me.
Okay, that wouldn't be in Oregon. Okay, yeah, okay. Well, but it's an interesting town. It's a small town, not too much opportunities job-wise, very small. But anyways, Wayland, he doesn't have many opportunities because he is a just released convict, and he immediately gets a sort of a place of shelter in a parish home where he's going to do some odds and ends. But within maybe a week or so, he meets Dolores, his high school flame, played by Jena Malone.
Come here! Stop! No! I don't want you to be bullied. I don't want that for you. Just put it on. No. Did you just spit at me? Did you teach him that?
No.
Where did you learn that?
Leave him alone, Lola. Can't you see you're hurting him?
You stay out of it. No, you stay out of it. No one even wants you here.
Well, it's my house.
It's not your house. You don't own it, and you're behind on rent.
When did you become so nasty?
I learned from the best.
And what does that mean?
It means your own kid can't stand being in the same room as you.
Fine.
Well, then you take care of him then. It'll be good practice for when you get pregnant in the next 2 years. I'm 12 years old. I'm a kid. I'm your fucking kid, Lola.
That was Granny's
until you calm down. Okay?
Yeah, I'm okay. You smell like diesel and cheap perfume, you fucking asshole.
I hate you! I know!
And Dolores, we find out, is also a mother of children, 3 kids. And that is yeah. And then Eric Holmes, for you audio files, he actually put mother in quotes. Dolores and Wayland, when they were teenagers, they had dreams of moving to Los Angeles, leaving their small town and moving to Los Angeles and checking out the ocean and the beach and living the sunny life of California. As a resident of Los Angeles and sunny California since I was 10, I wish I could tell Wayland and Dolores that dream is actually a nightmare, because there's a lot of things that's not to love about California. Everyone says great weather, but there's a lot more. Maybe it might be only a place to visit. Well, Eric, you've been to Los Angeles. You've visited. What do you think? What do you think of LA?
I loved it.
Loved it. Okay.
You were there. Anderson was there. Andrew Martin was there.
Yeah.
Travis Stanberry was there. Like I met a lot of cool people there.
You know what? When we met the first time, Eric, did I leave a good impression? Because I was just getting to know you.
You already left your impression through Cinematics. So
thanks,
and the Facebook page, which if you're listening to this, you should check out the Cinematics Facebook page.
You should. Eric Holmes and Bruce Perky are pretty much the de facto admin, because during the week I just leave Eric and Bruce to pretty much run the site for the Facebook group, because they're the real movie fans, not me. I'm off losing thousands of dollars in cryptocurrency, so we're gonna strike that. No, I'm doing okay in cryptocurrency, but I'm an addict. Speaking of addicts, there's a lot of addiction involved in Lorelei, whether it be an addiction to possibly going back into crime, possibly with Wayland. Dolores may be addicted to the past because she wants to actually maybe change her life, because being a single mother of 3 would take a toll on anybody. That's the premise of Lorelei. It seems like a story that we've heard before in cinema and television a million times. And I want to ask you, Eric, it's a very familiar story, even with its predictability, and it's told so many times. Did this movie hit right for you?
Yeah, and that probably has to do with my brother's situation, which isn't exactly like this, but there's some parallels as far as because usually you get the story and it's the other way around. It's the deadbeat dad, and then the woman taking over. You don't usually see the version of this where the dad's stepping up as a parent and the mom's a deadbeat. And actually in this case, the dad's not even the parent in this case. Like,
right.
He was just a old flame, and that, got saddled with someone else's kids. But he kind of, he falls in love with them, not in a weird way, not in a Sabaya way, but like in an actual, like,
not in a Sabaya way.
Yeah, there's none of that in here.
You know what? One of these days I'm going to start, if I ever start dating again, you know what? I'm going to say to the woman I love, you know what? Let's just say callers. Well, you said Sally. Sally, I really love you, but not in a Sabaya way.
What does that mean? No, that's a good thing.
No, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
This is kind of heartbreaking and kind of got me angry at the parole officer. Like, because you follow this guy and you kind of know where his heart is and where his mind is, and like he's still running drugs and stuff. But what the fuck else is he supposed to do? He just got out of prison. He lost his job. He shouldn't do. That's easy for you to say. People make mistakes. And as long as that mistake isn't hurting children or murdering someone, I think you should be able to, if you go to jail, you should be able to get out and have a fresh start. That's how that's supposed to work. But that's not what happens. And that's not what happens to him. And so he's got, he's trying to make ends meet. And now he's got this, he's basically, as his family just dropped on his lap. It's not his kids, it's his ex-girlfriend from high school. And now she's kind of not really a fit mom, and he's got to take the reins. So look, I guess I got to run drugs. Well, where'd you get all that money? Dude, don't fucking ask. I'm trying to get my shit together, and I got to do it however the hell I got to do it. And I don't need you, air quote, helping me, especially after, well, we won't talk about that part, but And
Right.
this movie goes pretty much everywhere, and I think a lot of it was true. The very end, maybe not so much. That was a little too optimistic for me, but
Right.
but
You know what?
I think overall this movie was felt pretty honest.
Well, listeners, tell us what you think of the ending of Lorelei if you do see it, because Eric said had an optimistic read about Lorelei, which I find it to be very interesting as well. Because the ending of Lorelei, without giving too much away, can be open ended. I saw it in a different way, and you and I will talk about it after we're done recording. But for me, Lorelei worked.
Let's do a spoiler after we're done,
Let's
because
spoil it.
I do think this is worth getting into, because I think I
Okay,
might
we
know
will.
where you're going with this.
We will do a little mini spoiler after this. Okay, so look, we're gonna do a mini spoiler, Eric, because we're gonna say this. You recommend this movie, correct?
Yes.
I recommend this movie too. I'm surprised. Were you surprised that you recommended this movie because we've seen this movie before, or not?
I don't think we have seen this movie before, because we've seen versions of this, but this is where you kind of reverse the gender roles, and sometimes you reverse the gender roles on something innocuous and it doesn't really do anything, but in this,
it's more cosmetic. It's more of a cosmetic
thing. This
right.
would be a gender reverse role where it kind of means something, because now you can take it in different directions. You can explore different things that we haven't really explored before. It'd be like the well, it's not general, but like a race swap, like a black Superman, for example. Inherently, now that you have a black Superman, you have different stories you can tell. There's different avenues you can take with that. With this, with the deadbeat mother and the man coming in to
his own
be a surrogate father.
Sure, yeah.
That's I mean, the only time you get surrogate father stories is kind of like Frankenstein stories, where like a mad scientist makes his little android and it's like, oh, I'm a surrogate father to, or like Pinocchio stories. Like you get surrogate father stories like that, but I don't.
Or Goofy Dad, he's so lovable stories. Those kind of
but I don't recall, and maybe there are some that exist, and I'm just not thinking of it, which is very possible. My brains suck most of the time.
I don't see many of these type of
movies. This had a very nice take on it, and it's really similar to what my brother and my nephew went through, and so just on a personal note, it hit home for me quite a bit.
And it hit home, and it actually, I love the fact that it could have been heavy-handed, and it didn't hit you over the head with a message, right?
And maybe it is to some, but it wasn't to me. It felt pretty honest all the way through. This movie, except for that last bit, but we'll get into.
We're gonna get to the last bit. I thought the last bit. Oh, listeners, you got to see Lorelei in select theaters and on demand, because I think you might have. You said like the optimism part. There's something I would love. I wish I actually got to interview the filmmaker again. It's written and directed by Sabrina Doyle. We should definitely ask her about the ending, because it's so open-ended. I thought it was a genius stroke. And I'm going to tell you why I thought it was a genius stroke after we're done recording this episode. And maybe we'll leave that audio for people who actually do see Lorelei again in theaters on demand July 30th. Wanted to mention a couple of things. Bruce's take on Lorelei. Every cliche in the poverty porn book. The middle child was by far the most engaging character. Groan-inducing symbolism, smacking the wall with my forehead. Just no. Bruce Perky.
Well, here's the thing about the what do you say?
Does Bruce Perky need a heart operation? Eric, does Bruce Perky?
No, he's not wrong. But what he's missing, and in areas like that, and people within that kind of community, they are cliche ridden. So Bruce isn't wrong. But also, that's probably the most honest take you could have on those characters, I think.
That is a very good read, Eric. Also, we forgot to mention, you mentioned the middle child. Those kids were really well, I thought they were well written. They're actually, I think that, don't you think that adds a lot to the story? If they're not your stock character kids. So
you got the one kid that said, trans, and they're, completely cool with it. I think at one point.
Maybe binary or trans or what, it's a she kind of situation, and it's.
But I mean, like
wear dresses,
like hey, wear boys' clothes. I don't want to make fun of you, but for the most, like there's that scene, but then they come around. But that's not even what the movie's about. That's just one more thing that the three kids are going through at any given time, and you get to see how he takes care of it, and you get to see how the mom reacts to it, and and they're varying degrees. It's not like the mom, like, even though she's a deadbeat mom, she doesn't make the wrong decisions all the time. Yeah. Sometimes she does the right thing, and it's the guy that fucks up, but also the guy's in that weird position. He's like, "You're not my kids. I can't, I'm not in a position to be able to tell you what to do and what not to do," until he is in that position. Then it's not a good, not an easy thing to be in.
Well, I'm glad you really enjoyed this movie. I really enjoyed this movie as well. Eric, I'm going to say there's this one moment where their characters, Waylon, again, played by Pablo Schreiber, and Dolores, played by Jena Malone, they're out, I believe, on the front porch of the house. And it is a big, maybe a 4 to 5 minute, seems like a big exposition dump where they're talking about their past lives and everything. And usually when these exposition dumps happen within a story, I just roll my eyes and go, here we go. We have to talk about it, about all of this stuff, unnecessary dialogue. When that exposition dump is acted by Jena Malone and Pablo Schreiber, it actually feels real. So It's right. Do you understand what I'm saying? It's not as bad. It's like when there's a voiceover, but it's Morgan Freeman doing it. You don't mind. You don't mind. So when Jena Malone and Pablo Schreiber, they can do as many exposition dumps as much as they want to, because they're both amazing actors and they're both amazing in this.
Yeah.
So
I can't remember if it was in that scene or not, but like we had something really special, didn't we? Oh, we were really doing it, weren't we? I was like, what are you talking? Oh, they're talking about your relationship. That was a bit arrogant, much, you think?
Yeah.
It's like, what our love we have. The thing we got going on, everybody needs to know about this shit. It's like, but I mean, to Bruce's point, that's a total cliche, but also to my point, people totally do that. Like I've seen that more times than I can count. And every time I see it, I roll my eyes going, oh God, you guys got domestic violence in your future. I can tell.
So that is, okay, again, that's on demand, on digital, in theaters. Let me see, in theaters. That is Lorelei, in select theaters and on demand July 30th. So excited for you guys to see this. Tell me, Bruce and Eric, what you think of the movie. We're hoping, me and Eric, we're hoping that you really enjoy this movie. Okay, so, and then you can get back to Bruce and say, Bruce, what were you thinking with Lorelei? That movie really, really works. Poverty porn.
The weird thing is that everything Bruce said is right, but I just yeah.
Okay,
it's weird how that works, isn't it? It's like everything you said is correct. It's just you didn't like it and I did, or vice, whatever the case. But like, that's weird.
Yeah, that is very, very weird. So that is that.
I was gonna bring something about Sabaya again, but I decided not
to. don't Sabaya me. Okay, I love you, but not in a Sabaya way. Is something I'm gonna think about using for the rest of my life. Also, before we get to your recommendation of the week, before we close the show, Eric Holmes, I'm going to give my very quick recommendation, because it also opens up July 30th. And I'm actually sad that I didn't get you guys screening links, because you guys were watching so many movies this week. Last minute, I received a screening link for this movie called Fully Realized Humans. It's written by Joshua Leonard and Jess Weixler, I believe. And they've worked before together in a movie called The Lie. Okay, and Joshua Leonard also directs Fully Realized Humans. Very simple plot. Hold on, I'm going to cough 1 second. They're a married couple. Okay, Jackie, played by Jess Weixler, she is pregnant, 8 months pregnant, and they realize from their friends on the bridal shower, the baby shower, they tell them that their lives will not be the same after they have the baby. So they decide, with 1 month to go, or maybe several weeks ago, they decide to actually have the life that they want to lead. And by the time the baby's born, they want to be, quote, fully realized humans. That is the premise of the movie. This is something that you might appreciate. The director and co-writer, Joshua Leonard, who's also the star along with Jess Weixler in this movie, is he says this movie, he calls it a scriptment. And what that means is it's not a script, it's not a treatment. Pretty much most of the movie is improvised. And it's a scriptment, right? Really, only 76 minutes, lo-fi indie set in Los Angeles. Excellent, excellent movie. I was really laughing, and I highly recommend this movie when it comes out. I actually interviewed them, and I'm going to put up the interview up on deepeststream.com. Again, opens July 30th. I forgot how to pronounce their names, Weixler, Jess Weixler and Joshua Leonard. They're very, very good in this movie. Go check it out. And yeah, that's it. That's my final recommendation for that week. And how about yours? What's your recommendation to close out the show, Eric?
So we've talked about many harrowing things, and we'll talk about the most harrowing thing that I seen this week.
Uh-oh.
And that is Masters of the Universe.
Tell us, what is that?
What's the He-Man? So Kevin Smith was working on the He-Man thing for Netflix, and I'm a pretty big fan of Kevin Smith, so I was like, oh, he's doing He-Man. Oh, I used to watch He-Man when I was a kid. And I guess his whole pitch for it was like when you watch He-Man as a kid, like you think it's real. And then you grow up and become an adult and you go back and watch it. And it's like, oh, this is kind of cheesy. But like the He-Man that was in my mind was like, serious business. And so that's kind of that's the kind of tone they were taking. It's still a kid show. You still show the kids Masters of the Universe. But they take some they take some turns for sure on this, and some ballsy turns. First episode, He-Man Skeletor die. So
what?
Normally that wouldn't be a spoiler, but this is first episode, and so it's basically follows Teela because He-Man dies while fighting Skeletor. They both do, and then so she finds out. They go and tell the king and queen that oh yeah, He-Man dies, and they start crying, and they're like, oh, my son. And then Teal's like, your son? And then she puts it together, oh, He-Man and Prince Adam are the same person. Wait a second, why the fuck didn't you tell me about this? Like, I've got I trust this guy to have my back in battle. I could die, and you guys have been lying to me about it. And so like Teela is just like, you know what, I don't know what's going on. I don't know why you choose to hide stuff from me, especially after you promoted me and all. And so she kind of goes and becomes a mercenary. And there's 5 episodes total. The ending leaves on a cliffhanger that is fun as hell.
Okay, but you're gonna want more though. I mean, is it kind of frustrating to leave on that and just wanting more?
It kind of is, but I kind of also wish that was the last episode. That to me, this is like the Last Jedi or the Iron Man 3 of like He-Man, where the nerds probably hate this. I know some of them do, but that has stuff to do with that has nothing to do with the show itself. But yeah, this is just like the reason I don't like the MCU movies is that they don't have any balls. They don't do anything that affects the characters. It's just, a commercial for the next one, which is the commercial for the next one after that, and so on and so forth. And where I think Last Jedi, Iron Man 3, and now this He-Man, or the Masters of the Universe rather, show, they take chances. They have the characters that everyone knows, but then they play with them. We're going to do something a little different. It's still something you can recognize, but we're going to do something that's, this might be a little more interesting. I don't like it. Well, too bad. Maybe next time it comes around, then they'll do the boring version of it. But for me, this is definitely worth watching. I think the kids can watch it. Teela is a pretty badass character. So you get that. We talked about earlier in this episode about the gender swap.
Yeah.
Now it's not really a gender switch traditionally, because she's not like a female He-Man, but she just kind of takes over that role in this. So because He-Man's dead. So
that's so cool.
Yeah, I would definitely recommend this. It's not,
what you're doing.
Might not be it's not going to be what you're expecting, but I think that works in its favor. And it's also got the silly. It doesn't, even though it takes chances and it gets serious, it's not afraid to get silly, because old He-Man cartoons were silly and had stupid punny jokes. It still has all that. But I think that also is, to me, it was a lot more fun because. It had had some good story and character work to go along with it. So I kind of appreciated the dad jokes when they did pop in.
Oh, you know what? Speaking of dads, here it comes. I just got this on via email next week because we're going to do Valapalooza. Here's the thing: as part of our Find Your Film episode, I'm going to interview the filmmakers for Val, 5 minutes each, very small. But I'm also going to interview Jack and Mercedes Kilmer for 5 minutes, and I think we're going to have to ask Jack and Mercedes to name their favorite Val Kilmer movies. And maybe we'll add that to the show for next week. What do you think?
I'll have a bunch of also rants, so I don't pick the same ones they do.
Okay. Okay. It's gonna be next Tuesday, folks. So we're gonna weave that, the Kilmers, the son and daughter of Val Kilmer, we're gonna weave, hopefully if everything works out, their own Val Kilmer picks into our Val Kilmer episode, which will be part of next week's Find Your Film episode. So we miss Bruce a lot. And again, Masters of the Universe, that is Netflix, like Eric, is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Is that where they can?
Yep.
Okay.
There's 501 Netflix, and I think there's going to be a part 2 at some point. But who knows? Maybe the nerds snuff that out. Who knows? I don't know. But I think it's really worth watching, and it's always remarkable and worth saying out loud when someone takes a property that otherwise would just be boring and does something cool with it.
Yeah. In many ways, that's like you respect the original.
Yeah.
By going a completely different direction, but then also keep, like you said, it keeps some of that tone from the original as well. So people can actually maybe go back to the original as well and see it in a different light, which is cool.
Here's something. I haven't seen Black Widow, so I don't know if it's good or not. Maybe it's great. Maybe it's terrible. I don't know because I haven't seen it. But I can tell you what I haven't heard.
Yes.
Holy shit. I was not expecting them to do that in a Black Widow movie. Had not heard of one person say that. You know who I heard that from on Masters of the Universe? Almost everyone that saw Masters of the Universe.
That's a good thing. That's a very, very good
thing. It's a very good thing. And it's not going to be for everyone, but fuck it.
Okay, look, I'm not knocking Twist, okay? I recommend Twist. The thing about Twist though is it's an entertaining movie, but it doesn't upend expectations. I mean, there's a couple of things that are cool, but it's a fun, light entertainment affair. There is room for that. My only problem with that is, like you were saying with Masters of the Universe, movies like Lorelei, things that actually tweak it and make us roll. They're basically rolling the dice. We can either love or hate it with these kind of twists. And I got to give these kind of movies and projects props for doing that.
Yeah.
So,
but also like something like Twist we're not bombarded with Oliver Twist movies. This isn't like the 50th Oliver Twist movie in 2 years.
Fair. Yeah.
Something like Superman or MCU stuff. Like we know we've seen it, like you've done it a million times. So, you can have a little more latitude with something like Twist to just be a fun movie, update it and have fun with the parkour and the heist and everything. But I think when you're dealing with properties that people have just mined to death, to mine it more doesn't make sense. Like if you're going to do it, fucking do something with it. Otherwise, what's the point?
Yeah. You know what's being mined a lot these days?
What's that?
Bitcoin. Bitcoin is currently at. Okay, sorry. I'm trying to shoehorn cryptocurrency into our fight.
No, go on. Tell me more, Greg.
I am not going to go on. You know what the biggest surprise this week, Eric?
What's that?
Out of all, with respect to everything we covered this week, you know what my number one with a bullet recommendation this week is?
What's that?
Lorelei. I can't believe I said that.
Yeah.
This was the last movie I put on because this is the movie I didn't want to watch, and it ended up just throwing me for a loop. I ended up really loving it. What is this? What surprised you the most out of what you covered this week?
Actually, probably Masters of the Universe. Sabaya is probably, like, of all of them, I think Sabaya is probably the best one because
cool. Yeah,
I kept forgetting that's a documentary though. I think that worked in its favor. That just kept me from putting a bullet in my head. Just lamenting the human, the evil of humans. We are fucking pieces of shit.
Right. No. It made me realize I have no guts. I would never do what these guys at the center are doing. I would never risk my life.
Yeah,
I'm sorry. I'm a coward.
I have no idea. If I did, I definitely wouldn't be able to stay as calm as that guy does. He's pretty level-headed throughout the whole thing. And you kind of have to be when you're in his position because I mean, we'll just get back into another review of that, but it's easy to flip out and just go off on someone, but at what end? Now you've blown your cover.
Also, yeah, one last thing about Sabaya, I really enjoyed how it didn't really amp things up because everything was going crazy all around, but the filmmaker could have made, they could have made the characters a little bit, the people more heroic or just overplay the hand, but it doesn't seem manipulative. It seems like a very real documentary, like you're actually in the moment. And it's scary, but really well done documentary.
I think also another fun thing about the movies we covered this week, because I think for the most part I like all of them. Even the one I didn't like, I still kind of could recommend it.
Yeah.
But there's like 3 heavy ones and 3 kind of fun ones. Did you get that right? Yeah. So we got Sabaya, the 9 Days, and Lorelei is kind of heavy. Yeah. But in between that, Twist, Masters of the Universe, and what am I forgetting? I think that's it.
That's it. That's
okay. And then Teletubbies or something else.
Well, we'll just count Twist as 2. Yeah, no, we had a good mix, and I was surprised because I love Pablo Schreiber. I really loved him in Dead and Thieves. I don't know if you've seen that movie.
Yeah, actually, that's one of those. Fuck it, Dead and Thieves. Sorry, Gerard Butler, and it's not quite Heat, but it's not far off. It's pretty good. It's pretty good. Crime film.
In fairness, the end of Den of Thieves is almost as good as Heat, right? The end where you realize, holy, what the heck?
Yeah, Den of Thieves is one of those that totally caught me off guard. I was like, another Gerard Butler. And you know what? I think I'm kind of slowly becoming a Gerard Butler fan. Maybe a little ironically so, but I still like the guy. But Den of Thieves was like, this one's gonna suck. Let's watch this. And I put it in. I'm like, that was pretty good. And Gerard Butler's eat acting in that is. He's just always, what we're doing up in there. You gonna tell me where they put the bodies at or whatever?
A lot of good eat acting in Den of Thieves. That is our final Find Your Film episode. We miss Bruce Perky very much. Bruce will hopefully his car is better next week. He will be joining us for next week. Any final thoughts before we leave, Eric Holmes?
I love you, Bruce, and I miss you.
Love you, Bruce, as well. Again, like Eric was saying at the beginning of the episode, join us on our Cinematics Facebook group. We do weekly DVD and Blu-ray giveaways, and Bruce and Eric, like I said, they help man the ship when it comes to movie recommendations. We also have a lot of wonderful people like William Lindis, Matt Stillman, Joseph Bridges, Andrew Martin, a fellow podcaster Andrew Martin, a lot of Angie Clark, a lot of wonderful people contributing movie recommendations on a daily basis. So that is it. We are ending the show right now. And if you actually have seen Lorelei, we're just going to keep this episode running with a spoiler discussion of Lorelei. Okay, so if you don't want to hear what happens at the end of Lorelei, stop. So turn it. Yeah, we're going to start. We're going to start our spoiler discussion of Lorelei in 3. Let me just hold on 1 second. I'm going to cough. Why don't you say something interesting, Eric Holmes, for about 5 seconds?
So we saw Lorelei.
Yes, you saw Lorelei. Okay. And then now we're back. We're back. You saw Lorelei. Why did you think the ending? Listeners, obviously, here's the spoilers for Lorelei. Eventually, they all go on the ice cream truck that, of course, we're assuming
we should back up because we never said that she left. We mentioned that she's a deadbeat mom, but we never.
Okay, yeah, we're gonna.
Well, if you're listening to this, you already know that because you saw the movie.
You saw the movie. We're assuming, folks, you've seen Lorelei. Again, this is one of these things we're releasing this hopefully on Thursday or Friday. So please do not listen to this unless you have seen Lorelei. So as we all know, Dolores, kind of almost a little bit post midstream, a little bit over half of the movie. She's with them in the house, raising the kids with Wayland, and suddenly she has these dreams of actually, still as a teen, wanting to go out to LA
to become a bartender.
To become a bartender.
That was her dream.
Says. That was her dream, but she wanted to come out to LA with Wayland when they were teenagers. But now she's a mother of 3. She's doing a lot of hard work. She's a maid, a hotel maid. She quits her job and she decides to just up and leave her family, her 3 kids, and us also by default Wayland. She leaves their home and she goes out to LA, where she gets a job at specifically an establishment called Dive Bar. And in Dive Bar, at the end of the movie, we don't see her as a waitress. She's actually one of the excuse me, one of the swimming mermaids in that fish tank, or that big, not a fish tank, that one of the big tanks on the overhead in the bar. So we see her actually, in a way, Eric, she's living out her dream because she used to be a swimmer in high school and she loves the water, and she becomes a little bit of a mermaid at the pleasure and the viewing pleasure of the bar patrons of Dive Bar. And
Yeah.
actually watching her as a mermaid is Wayland and the three children who've actually made the trek from the home road trip with the ice cream truck that Wayland has, and they meet her at the dive bar. And the closing moments has one of the children, I believe it's is it the middle child or the youngest child? I think it's the middle child. Yeah, the middle child. She's on the shoulders of Wayland and she's
Oh
looking.
yeah, no, it'd have to be the youngest one because the
Really?
middle one would have been too big for that. I think.
Okay, so
I mean,
good,
he's pretty
good.
strong, but the middle child's pretty
Right,
big.
pretty big. So good.
I wouldn't
Eric.
want that middle child up on my old ass shoulders.
Neither, and I wouldn't be. I'd be dead in like 2 seconds. Yeah, but Pablo Schreiber shoulders.
My spine can barely support me.
right, very good. But we're talking about Pablo Schreiber. He's the man.
Yeah, this is true.
This guy is built to that. You know what? So, anyways, he's carrying the youngest child. Very good, Eric. And she's looking at her mother, and her mother actually has to take a breath for a second when she sees the children, the family, and she cries just for one split second, and she goes back in the water. And you see her. I guess she's reaching the hand on the glass, and you see her half smiling, and then what happens? It cuts to them. It just cuts to them being in that moment in the dive bar. She looking at her family, the family looking onto her, and then it cuts to a end credit sequence with just you see Lorelei by herself on the beach, and that's the end of the movie. So, yeah. Eric, why did you think that was an optimistic take?
Well, normally in something like that, you would have the family. It's like, oh, mom's a whore, or they would see her in the dive bar or strip club or whatever, and see her kind of exposed. But actually, one of the good things that Lorelei did that with her kids was she instilled a sense of self-worth in them, be who you want to be, go after your dreams. And so the kids didn't see their mom as, oh, she left us to do this. The kids saw them as like, oh, our mom's a mermaid. Isn't that cool? Like, oh, she's doing her dreams. And I see it as optimism because, she's happy to see them, but also they're happy to see her. And I almost got the sense that she kind of in that moment inspired them further to go after whatever dreams they want to go after, which is kind of not really something you want from a deadbeat parent, but that inspiration can come from all sorts of places. So why not that?
And I think you have a good point there. They're actually inspired by their mother because they can fall back on their surrogate father, played by Wayland.
Yeah.
Because he actually becomes, what's so funny is Wayland, he's so closed off and he's understandably scarred from those 15 years in prison. He's just trying to get his life on track. And maybe his dream himself was to actually go to, LA with Dolores as well, and maybe leave the kid because they're not his kids. But ultimately, what happens, the sneaky thing about Lorelei is Wayland is the one who is actually, even with all her years of hard work as a mother, Wayland has more of a facility of being a very cool parent. He just that's his one big talent. He knows how to take care of the kids. And I thought that was very resonant, very moving.
On top of that, like her decision to abandon her kids is really the only reason that Wayland is able to leave that shithole that he was stuck in. Like now, at least, his parole officer presumably let him go, with certain restrictions and all. He's able to at least give him that last moment, if that, and with these type of people, that kind of stuff never really sticks, because it usually ends up in fighting and bickering later on. But this is a movie, so in my head, what happened is that they kind of that moment kind of solidifies them as a family. And then they can work, and then Wayland doesn't have the parole officer breathing down his neck every second. Lorelei's got her dream job, and their kids get to, pretty much everyone's happy at that point. They're where they need to be, and they're where they need to be to grow creatively and as people, and so on and so forth, and live the life they want to. Whereas before, they're all stuck. They're like, just trying to get scraped by whatever they can.
Well, okay, that's a very good read, and I think that's going to be most people's read on Lorelei. But here's the thing. Here's an alternate read. When she looks at her kids, she obviously misses them. That's why she cries when she gets out of the tank to get her breath back. But when she goes back into the water, she's still entertaining the patrons. She's
Yeah.
still living in that.
Because she's a professional.
Right. Well, she's a professional, but she's in her own world.
Yeah.
And we go back to this scene. And here's the thing. I just thought about this. Should we go back to the scene in the pool where she decides to quit her job? She quits her job and she decides to go into the pool, and she just submerges herself in the pool. And there is that scene where you think that she actually saw Wayland in the, watching her. Okay. And there's a cut scene. I don't know if you saw this. There's a scene where she's at the bottom of the pool and there's a reflection of Wayland on the top looking at her. And so she's supposedly seeing him, but then it cuts to another scene where she's actually she's not really seeing him. She's only seeing a reflection of herself.
Yeah.
Okay. Now you transpose that and you look at the end of Lorelei, and even though I'm sure she's very happy to see her family there, she goes back into the default fantasy of being a mermaid. And then the final shot, because you don't see, the final shot is not with them together on the beach.
Yeah.
The final shot is her by herself on the beach,
Yeah.
which means, yes, my thing is, yes, it's cool that there is a family. The family gets stronger because thanks to Wayland being really a natural father and really coming to realize his real calling maybe is to be a really cool father to these kids. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's a lot of joy there. But then Lorelei's dreams is actually maybe realized. And that dream is for her just to go off into the sunset and the beach and just find a little bit of freedom on her own. So it's sort of, they're going to be kind of like a family, but they're going to be separate but together. So that's one of those really ambiguous kind of endings, which you could read on, I think, in two different ways.
I think the only thing I would do, and unfortunately I think you're right on that. Yeah. But that last part didn't
It's still a happy ending, though.
I didn't see that part. I stopped watching when they saw it.
Oh, you stopped. Okay.
But no, when she sees her kids, I don't think that I think that the way I read that moment was she sees her kids and right away she knows that she fucked up. And then she has to go up.
That's why she's uneasy.
She's not crying because she missed her kids. She's crying because her being a piece of shit got thrown right back in her face when she wasn't at all. I'm assuming she wasn't at all expecting him to be there. Otherwise, she wouldn't have reacted like that. But I think she was kind of caught off guard. And then it's like, oh, that's right. I deserted my kids. And she goes up and kind of takes a breath. And that's why it's fucking awesome. They got Jena Malone in here because she's so good and doing this kind of stuff. And then but I think I think she likes her kids, and in my head she loves her kids and she loves her family, and it all becomes a happy ending. But unfortunately I think you might be right.
No, but I think that's what the director is doing. Maybe she's giving us different reads, and the ending is the ending that we create. We're kind of the co-writers in the final moments of this narrative. Now, also, what we forgot to mention, and what I really appreciated, Wayland and the biker gang that actually introduced him in the beginning. The trope for most movies is, oh, well, he can't afford to pay his bills, so he'll go back to, running drugs or doing deliveries and everything for some money just to make ends meet. And then maybe the gang or some of his colleagues will pull him back into a life of crime. Nope. Yeah. Nope, that doesn't happen. It's just, well, one of his good friends gives him that packet of money for time served for not being a snitch. It's just a very
it's like what I can't take this, and it's like, it's yours. It's like, well, for 15 years or 15 years of service, essentially. You did time in jail and didn't fucking snitch, so the least we could do is get you by.
Instead of actually the trope of that criminal gang criminal pulling him back in and making him do even worse things. And I really appreciated that that's one of the things that Lorelei just flipped the script on, I think. So
and I don't want to defend a lot of motorcycle gangs too much, because there's a lot of them that are not good people. But as far as the brotherhood and camaraderie, at least of the ones I've seen, people I've met, that's about what you can kind of expect. More so than the if someone's in a motorcycle club and they're like, I gotta do the family shit. It's like, no, man, hey, I get it. I think that's the way they reacted in Lorelei is probably a lot more true than. And I love Sons of Anarchy, but probably more true than that. Like the dude, I got to break away from the gang. Well, we got to beat you up and break your arms and kill your family.
Right.
You know, that maybe that happens in some of them. I think, because I mean, even though some of them can be racist and criminals and all that, I think they do have a sense of brotherhood. So that rang a little more true to me than like you said, other versions of that scene.
Okay, so that is cool. That is our spoiler discussion of Lorelei, again in theaters on digital, July 30th. Hopefully you guys found some added stuff. Hit us up. Tell us what you think of the ending of Lorelei, or what you think overall of Lorelei. So that is so. I think Bruce Perky's gonna have a really nice laugh to himself, the fact that we're doing a spoiler on a movie that he really doesn't like. So
so he didn't miss out. That's cool.
So he did. you know what we should do? Whenever Bruce is not on this podcast, we'll just do spoilers of movies he hates. Next up is the painted bird. So
all right, and we're done recording. All right, Bruce, you can leave. Okay, only Bruce left. Now let's do the spoilers of the movies he didn't like. Tenet is not a turd.
Tenet is not a turd. By the way, should I watch Tenet before we go? Is it you recommend it now? With months gone?
I would say yes, but okay. I mean, I don't. What do you feel of Christopher Nolan in general?
His stuff. I love his stuff.
I would give it a shot.
Okay.
I mean, there's a huge learning curve, and you might be on the same side as many people where they watch them like, huh? But yeah, give it a shot.
Okay.
And I think you're kind of more ready for that sort of thing, because there's like the James Bond, but like the not really De Palma, but kind of De Palma adjacent, in that you have like, you know, there's always the big thing going on, and everyone's got to kind of, but also like De Palma has like the backstories and whatnot that's not too important to the movie, but it's important to the characters, you know, kind of almost like a plot MacGuffin, if that even makes sense.
Got it. No, gotcha. Okay, so
but I give it a shot. I don't know if you like it or not. Maybe you'd be more in line with Bruce, but I'd be curious to see what you thought.
What's better, Tenet or Lorelei? Apples and oranges. You gotta say it. Tenet or Lorelei? Are they both good?
I might have to go with Lorelei.
Oh wow. Okay. Fair.
Tenet's got some stuff that I really, really, really fucking love in it, and they just don't do anywhere. But then again, so does Lorelei, so I have no idea.
Good. But, you know what? I'm here for the clickbait. I'm gonna put on our Twitter feed. Eric Holmes prefers Lorelei over Tenet. So, anyways, that is it, folks. We will see you next week on Find Your Film. And anything else, Eric? You just want to say goodbye at all? Anything? Yes. Goodbye. So long. Farewell. And I was going to say Auf Wiedersehen goodbye, but we can't do that because of music licensing. But we'll see you guys.
A Wiener Zane?
No Wiener Zane or Wiedersehen. We'll see you guys next week.